against the best opposition, like Errol Spence, he showed what fucking level he's on, what type of dog he is. So it's just, I don't know, you really have to let these fights play out to see what happens. You know what I mean? He might get hurt.
Canelo, I think Crawford will hurt Canelo. If he wins, it has to be by decision. If he wins, it won't be by knockout.
The boxing world is buzzing after David Benavidez finally broke his silence on the epic showdown between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. As fans and pundits debate who holds the edge, voices from the sport, from champions to elite trainers, are weighing in with powerful insights. This isn't just any fight; it's legacy-defining. Crawford's speed, ring IQ, and confidence collide with Canelo's experience, strength, and championship pedigree. Let's break down the opinions, starting with David Benavidez himself and moving through a chorus of respected voices.
Against the best opposition, like Errol Spence, he showed what fucking level he's on, what type of dog he is. So it's just, I don't know, you really have to let these fights play out to see what happens. You know what I mean? He might get hurt.
David Benavidez doesn't dismiss the idea that Canelo could finish Crawford, but he quickly pivots to the raw tenacity Crawford showed against Errol Spence. In Benavidez's eyes, Crawford has already proven he's a different breed. What stands out is not just his victory, but the level he displayed while doing it. Benavidez seems to acknowledge that while anything can happen in boxing, Crawford has earned his respect by showing the kind of grit, adaptability, and mental toughness that make him dangerous for any fighter, even someone like Canelo.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Terence Crawford wins, but I wouldn't be surprised if he loses either.
Yeah, if Canelo, because more likely.
In a more neutral tone, Benavidez admits he wouldn't be shocked either way whether Crawford wins or loses. This may sound non-committal, but in reality, it reflects how closely matched this fight is. The unpredictability stems from how different these fighters are stylistically. Crawford's ability to outthink his opponents contrasts sharply with Canelo's brute strength and pressure. Benavidez's indecisiveness mirrors what many insiders feel. This isn't a mismatch. It's a genuine 50/50 fight where the winner will be determined by who executes their game plan better.
Opportunity, I mean, it has a chance to beat Canelo. I think it's Terence Crawford. His IQ is on another level. He's a great fighter and he's strong. It's just that it's a lot of weight, you know what I mean? And
Benavidez gives perhaps his strongest endorsement when he says, if anyone has a real shot at dethroning Canelo, it's Crawford. The reason? Crawford's IQ. That statement can't be overlooked. In modern boxing, ring IQ, the ability to think, adapt, and counter in real time, often trumps raw strength. Benavidez also points out Crawford's strength and greatness, but remains realistic about the challenge, citing the weight disparity. Still, his confidence in Crawford's mind and grit signals that he sees this fight as far more even than many assume.
Who'd you?
I like Crawford because
you like Crawford?
No, I like Crawford as a fighter and his career, 2-time undisputed. But I just think Canelo's too big.
4 weight classes?
Yeah, too big, too strong. And Canelo could fight, man. Canelo's a really good fighter. So
Robert Garcia offers a differing view, favoring Canelo because of his size and power. He respects Crawford's resume and accolades, but believes physicality will tilt the match. Garcia isn't downplaying Crawford's skills. Instead, he highlights a classic concern in boxing, moving up in weight. According to him, while Crawford is talented, being a 2-time undisputed champion might not be enough to overcome the sheer force and experience of Canelo at a higher division. For Garcia, this isn't about skill, it's about the risks of challenging physics and weight classes.
I think Canelo could knock him out later. I think the first 6 rounds are going to be very competitive because Crawford could fight.
Yeah,
Crawford could fight, but and he's got heart, he's got skills. But I think the size is going to be way different. I think in the late rounds, Canelo could probably stop him.
Garcia expands further, predicting Canelo might knock Crawford out in the later rounds. He acknowledges that Crawford will hold his own early on. His heart and technique are unquestionable. But in Garcia's view, the turning point will be fatigue and pressure. The way he frames the first 6 rounds as competitive implies that Crawford's strategy and speed may frustrate Canelo initially, but the danger increases as the rounds go by. Still, this paints Crawford as no pushover. If anything, it underscores how well he might start the fight.
I think Crawford will hurt Canelo. if he wins, it has to be by decision. If he wins,
Yeah.
it won't be by knockout.
Continuing his analysis, Garcia raises a critical point. He doesn't believe Crawford has the power to hurt Canelo. That's a serious claim, as it suggests Crawford would need to win purely on points, a tall order against someone as durable and defensively sound as Canelo. However, this also raises an interesting counterargument, that if Crawford does win, it's going to be a technical masterclass, not a slugfest. Garcia isn't saying Crawford can't win, only that if he does, it'll be through superior skill and patience, not brute force.
I think it's going to be a good fight. Yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting fight. I think there's going to definitely be some back and forth and a lot more punches thrown than the Skull fight. I kind of honestly was expecting that with the Skull fight. I heard Canelo say in an interview before he don't like to fight certain fighters because...
Caleb Plant shifts the conversation toward the spectacle of the fight. He expects a high-volume, action-packed battle in sharp contrast to some of Canelo's more measured fights. Plant subtly suggests that Crawford's style might pull Canelo into a faster-paced fight than he usually prefers. He also hints that Canelo doesn't like fighting certain types of opponents, possibly referring to slick, mobile boxers like Crawford. This is a vital insight because if Canelo is uncomfortable stylistically, Crawford might be able to dictate the rhythm and flow, especially early on.
Regardless of however the fight itself plays out, I feel like the betting, the betting people will probably have Canelo as a favorite simply because, Terence is moving up a couple weight classes.
When discussing the betting odds, Garcia notes that Canelo will likely be the favorite simply due to Crawford moving up in weight. This is a fair point. Odds makers often prioritize size and historical dominance. But what Garcia adds is key. Once that bell rings, the betting odds don't matter. It's about execution, timing, and adaptability, and that's where Crawford excels. The weight gap may tip the odds, but Crawford's skill set, built on speed, precision, and intellect, can easily flip that script once the gloves start flying.
Can't say, don't know. I'm just, as a fan, excited to see the fight, and from the boxing knowledge that I have, which I feel like is decent, I think it's going to be a real good fight. I'm excited for it.
Garcia refuses to give a definitive prediction, instead taking a fan's perspective. But what stands out in his comment is his acknowledgement of how evenly matched and intriguing the fight is. Even from someone with a deep boxing background, there is hesitation to pick a side. That hesitation says a lot. It reveals the fight's complexity. Crawford's unpredictability and Canelo's consistency form a compelling chess match. Garcia's excitement stems from knowing this isn't a mismatch. It's a rare battle of elite fighters where strategy could outweigh size.
I always like Crawford. I always like Crawford in the fight. I think Crawford's going to win.
You're gonna pull it off.
Yeah.
What's gonna be
I just think he's just going to be too much.
A lot of people are changing their opinion.
I always said it. I always said I like Crawford from the very beginning of the fight.
Stephen Edwards firmly backs Crawford, saying he always favored him in this matchup. His conviction is striking. Edwards doesn't hedge. He believes Crawford is too much, implying that skill, timing, and overall ability will triumph over size and experience. Edwards likely sees Crawford's footwork, fluid combinations, and tactical awareness as the X factors. For someone to have picked Crawford from the beginning shows the deep respect boxing minds have for his versatility and mental sharpness, both of which could prove critical against a slower, more plodding Canelo.
He seems to have like a very fast process in mind. He can seem to adjust to anything. He's like a savant in a boxing ring. He probably can't even explain how he adjusts to everything, but can just adjust to anything in the fight. He's a great...
Edwards highlights one of Crawford's most underrated qualities, his ability to process and adapt mid-fight. Calling him a savant isn't just flattery, it's recognition that Crawford can make adjustments instinctively. This skill is invaluable, especially against an opponent like Canelo, who thrives on breaking down opponents over time. If Crawford can read, adapt, and reset on the fly, it puts Canelo in unfamiliar territory. Edwards paints Crawford as a thinking fighter, one who doesn't just react, but evolves, and that kind of adaptability is hard to neutralize.
Better stamina, better conditioning, better feet. I think obviously Canelo's the harder puncher, probably the stronger guy, but I think he has more dexterity, more agility. He's going to be better in the later rounds. He's a little taller, his arms are longer. I think he got a lot of,
Continuing his breakdown, Edwards lists several attributes that favor Crawford: stamina, conditioning, footwork, reach, and agility. Yes, Canelo may hit harder, but Edwards believes Crawford will shine when it counts in the later rounds. These advantages point to a game plan where Crawford survives the early power and then takes over as the fight drags on. This is critical because Canelo's past struggles often come in fights that go long. Edwards is setting the stage for a narrative where Crawford outlasts and outsmarts his bigger foe.
I agree with that. I think Crawford's going to be the stronger fighter in the later rounds. I think the early part of the fight is where he got to be careful at. I think the early part of the fight, he could get clipped if he's not careful. But I think the later rounds, I think he functions better in the later rounds than Canelo does.
Edwards finishes his analysis by stating that Crawford will be the fresher fighter in the final rounds. This is a serious threat to Canelo, who has at times looked gassed in long-distance battles. Edwards also notes the danger early on, where Canelo's power is at its peak, but if Crawford navigates those early rounds, his superior conditioning and second-half strategy could flip the fight in his favor. This insight perfectly aligns with Crawford's track record. He's known for finishing strong, and that could be the deciding factor here.
You rocking with Crawford?
Yeah. 12-round decision, but he gonna dissect Canelo along the way. You know how you sit in science class and you're, all right, this is the kidney, and this is the lung, and this is the Adam's apple. Crawford gonna dissect his ass. I can't wait for that fight.
Will that be a fight that we would see Crawford?
Kenny Ellis expresses strong faith in Crawford, saying he'll win a decision by systematically breaking Canelo down over 12 rounds. What's significant is that Ellis envisions a dissection, not a brawl. That means Crawford's path to victory lies in outboxing and outsmarting Canelo. It's a tactical route, not a physical one. This aligns with many who believe Crawford's approach, feints, counters, footwork, will frustrate Canelo, especially in the middle rounds. Ellis sees a fight where precision beats power and patience defeats pressure.
IQ can match Crawford IQ.
Oh, no?
No.
No.
Ellis takes it a step further, directly stating that Canelo's IQ doesn't compare to Crawford's. That's a bold take, and one that's becoming more common among insiders. Ellis isn't saying Canelo isn't smart. He's saying Crawford is smarter in the ring. This means Crawford may be the one making the right reads, anticipating counters, and leading Canelo into traps. IQ can neutralize strength, and in a matchup this technical, that mental edge could be what creates separation, even against a decorated champion like Canelo Alvarez.
Crawford pull this off? He definitely can. He has the ability to pull it off for sure. Now, it's going to be a tough task. You're talking about Canelo Alvarez, one of the greatest fighters ever. So,
Kevin Cunningham acknowledges the enormous challenge of facing Canelo, but still believes Crawford can pull it off. That's important. It's not blind faith. Cunningham knows what Canelo represents, a great, dangerous fighter. But he also sees in Crawford a rare type of talent who has the tools to solve the puzzle. By calling it a tough task, Cunningham sets realistic expectations, but his confidence in Crawford's ability confirms that this is no fantasy matchup. It's a test of greatness against greatness, and he believes Crawford can pass it.
I think Terence is special, you know, and it's going to take it takes a special fighter to move up multiple weight classes and still dominate. And I think Terence Crawford has the ability, not to say he'll dominate Canelo Alvarez, but I think he's special enough to where he can find a way to expose Canelo's flaws. And
Cunningham expands on why he believes in Crawford, pointing to his ability to move up in weight and still dominate. That's not just physical talent, it's mental mastery. He's not saying Crawford will walk through Canelo, but that he has the IQ and strategy to find a way. That phrase is key. It speaks to adaptability and resilience. Crawford might not dominate the way he did at welterweight, but he can still win by solving the unique riddle that is Canelo Alvarez through sharp execution and mental toughness.
I just think he's a special enough fighter, and he's gifted enough, and he's smart enough to win a boxing match with Canelo Alvarez.
In his final thought, Cunningham zeroes in on the real reason so many believe in Crawford, his special talent and boxing mind. He calls him gifted and smart, reinforcing the idea that this fight won't be won by brute force alone. Against an elite opponent like Canelo, being physically strong isn't enough. But Crawford has shown time and time again that he can outthink elite fighters. Cunningham frames Crawford as the rare type of boxer who can rise to the moment, even against one of the sport's most dominant champions. As we digest the insights from David Benavidez and other respected voices in the boxing world, a picture starts to form. Yes, Canelo is strong. He's a force at super middleweight, but Terence Crawford's speed, stamina, and especially his ring IQ may give him the edge in ways size alone cannot counter. If Crawford survives the early rounds and adapts, like he always does, this could become a very uncomfortable night for Canelo. One thing's for sure, this fight won't just be about fists, it'll be a war of minds. Subscribe to Boxy Hub for the latest boxing updates.